The U.S. Department of Defense has teamed with universities and social science researchers to study the dynamics of civil unrest, both abroad and here at home. It's being called the Minerva Research Initiative. Many scientists, educators, and activists, though, fear that the initiative could not only lead to the militarization of the study of social sciences, but that the information gained from the research could be used by the military to control and stifle ideological and grassroots-driven movements like Occupy Wall Street. To shed some light on the Minerva Initiative, I was joined earlier by David Price, a professor of anthropology and sociology at St. Martin's University. I first asked him how the initiative works and what the military hopes to gain from it.
Well, as you said, the Minerva Initiative started in 2008. It started with very modest funding, around $4 million. It was announced by then Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, with the idea being that the Defense Department would try and use social scientists and other academics in American universities to research issues and problems that were of interest to the military. And when it started, it was very broad. But as you said in your introduction, right now it appears that many of the programs that are being funded try to model ways for the Defense Department to monitor civil unrest. And so they're studying both domestic populations and more generally looking at groups around the world trying to use social science for militarized ends.
Now, how does the military and intelligence agencies use the information that's being gained from working with the social scientists and anthropologists like yourself? Is it something that they're looking into as far as behavior is concerned, as large groups?
Well, there are several answers to that. One is we simply don't know how the information's being used. As with any sort of social science research.
But how come you guys don't know, Professor?
Well, because I'm not involved in. I don't work for Minerva. I'm a critic of Minerva, and so. But anyone who's doing research puts it out in the public domain, and it can be used for ends that we, the researchers, don't understand. Now, with Minerva, the results, there's two parts of Minerva. One is a program where people come up with research designs that they want to do, and it goes through a very public process using the National Science Foundation. The other is not public. It uses a classified process. So there are scholars out there that are doing work where they're doing things like analyzing texts. So they'll take one of the funded programs is they took seized documents from Iraq, from the invasion of Iraq, that were taken back, and then they use very sophisticated programs. There are programs like there's one called Nudist, which is a qualitative analytical software package that social scientists can use to look for themes that show up in documents. And so in terms of what it's being applied for, we don't know, because all of this occurs behind a wall of secrecy.
So do you think that the professors that are involved in the Minerva project, do they even know what they're involved with, or why this information is useful to them?
Yes and no. They on the one hand, it's one of these sort of dual use things. On the one hand, the scholars working on these projects are working on issues that are very interesting to them as individuals. I don't think they're necessarily thinking through the applications of this in terms of counterinsurgency and other applications, or perhaps they are and they're politically comfortable with having their research being used for these sort of manipulative ends. I don't really know. I think there's a lot of naivete, not really understanding the history of abuses of programs like this.
Well, thank you so much for your time, sir. That was David Price, a professor of anthropology at St. Martin's University.